In this week's episode of Attack on Titan Junior High, Eren and Annie settle their differences in a battle of dodgeball. That's the magic of anime. They can take the most normal, mundane life things and turn them into something really epic and ridiculous. That tradition continues in this week's episode of Attack on Titan Junior High, the comedy series spin-off of Attack on Titan, which pretty much I think will mostly just appeal to that audience because there's just so many little in-jokes. Despite that, this is still a pretty fun, slapsticky show, so those who don't like Attack on Titan might be able to get something out of this after all. This episode right here, though, was just plain weird. Basically, it was this big dodgeball game that was getting ready to go on between Eren and Annie. It was all a big build-up to it, and as soon as the game actually begins, Eren actually ends up sleeping in, and he isn't even there for most of the game. This, of course, leads to a lot of hilarity, which really plays on the strengths of the characters from Attack on Titan. First and foremost, Mikasa. Without Eren around, she has no passion for anything. She can't even play the game. She gets tagged out almost immediately and just hangs out in the dugout for most of this episode. There's also my personal favorite, Connie Springer, who's a very funny and incredibly dense character. He's always been known for not being that smart, but even he doesn't even know what dodgeball is in this episode, and he actually ends up being the hero at the very end, in a very nice twist ending. Jean's saga of popularity is also beginning in this episode, and I especially love the callback when they tried to dress him up like Eren to pass him off as the real thing in front of Annie, and of course it doesn't work, because according to Annie, his face looks like a horse. Armin's futon jokes continue, Ymir and Krista continue to be a married couple, and there's even that one couple from Attack on Titan who are madly in love with each other, who actually appear constantly throughout this episode on their team, and they're constantly just all lovey-dovey with each other, with hearts constantly emanating from their bodies. It's a really funny scene because it also kind of reminds you that a lot of these characters died some very grisly deaths, and it's kind of weird that they're just sort of having fun with them now. Again, my favorite character from this episode, though, is Sasha. She just seems like she was tailor-made for this spin-off, because she's without a doubt one of the most goofiest characters from Attack on Titan, and now she really gets to flourish in this series. Whenever they cut to her, she's constantly eating something, and whenever Mikasa wants to get out of something, she ends up blaming it right on Sasha. It leads to a lot of funny scenes. But the best parts of the episode for most people will probably be at the end when Eren finally realizes that he slept in and he arrives for the big dodgeball match. Now, what's really funny about this is that you expect Eren to be like the reason that they're going to win. But no, actually his importance is there simply so that Mikasa can get out of her funk so that she can have an epic dodgeball showdown with Annie, which basically just results in Eren getting his face smacked repeatedly with a dodgeball. So if you didn't like the character of Eren, you should at least watch this episode if only to see him get his comeuppance. That, and without a doubt, I think my favorite scene from this episode is when Mikasa and Annie start to charge each other, and then Eren gets caught right in between their two attacks. This was a really great callback to when Eren and Annie actually had their sparring match before they joined the Scout Regiment. And yet the entire theme of the episode is tied together by hamburgers. And I'm not sure if this is just a cultural thing, but apparently what you eat for lunch in Japan is a really big social statement, at least according to Annie and Eren. Eren doesn't really seem to give a crap that anybody knows that he likes cheeseburgers, but Annie really seems to have a big problem with it. And it all ends with them having a nice little lovey-dovey triangle with Mikasa, Annie, and Eren. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Attack on Titan Junior High? This is just a goofy-ass series. I have to admit, I was laughing out loud a little bit towards the end of the episode, mostly when things started to get a little slapsticky when Eren finally arrived at the dodgeball match, when he was repeatedly getting hit with a ball. Just his expressions were really funny, and the animation during that scene was actually quite nice, despite the fact that it was very minimal, but they really added a lot of, like, you know, oomph behind some of those, like, throws from Annie and Mikasa, who just, seeing those two together is always really fun. But this was an episode that again demonstrated that the side characters of Attack on Titan are really great, and when you play with the extremes of their quirkiness, you can have a lot of fun. Again, though, my only problem with the show is that I'm not sure if it's going to appeal to non-Attack on Titan fans. I mean, there's just so many callbacks to all of these events, and some of them are very subtle, like the scene at the end when Eren ends up getting kicked by Mikasa and Annie at the same time. It's only vaguely reminiscent, but it has all of the poses there, and it sort of carries that same message with it along. At the end of the day, though, it's definitely going to put a smile on the face of Attack on Titan fans, and it'll give them something to enjoy until we get the next season of Attack on Titan in 2016. So, for the time being, Attack on Titan fans, Check this out. You might see something you like, you might get a few chuckles, but don't expect it to reinvent the wheel or anything. But this was still a fun episode, which I have to admit made me smile, and actually did make me laugh out loud at the very end of the episode, with Aaron's face getting repeatedly smashed. So I'm going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5. Check it out, Attack on Titan fans! You might see something you like. But before you leave today, for those who have seen this episode, please tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Are you enjoying Attack on Titan Junior High? Are you not enjoying it? Do you have any favorite characters who've shown up? What would you do in this series? What do you want to see from this comedy version of Attack on Titan? And what do you want to see from the next season of Attack on Titan in 2016? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my video. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, stay dandy, baby!